Thank you so much for joining us. Kindly, please tell us where the name Bush Baby came from. I'm wondering where it came from. How did you get it?
Yeah, that is like one of the most asked questions, and I'm so glad I had to call myself Wish Baby X-rated, man, because that's actually a very good selling point. So, Bush Baby X-rated comes from me trying to figure out my roots, if
Okay.
that kind of makes sense, because from where I come from, my dad grew up being raised by his grandmothers. Pretty
Okay.
much couldn't figure out who his daddy was. So it kind of it then becomes like a genetic thing where if you're not really sure where your paternity really comes from,
Mm-hmm.
as a self-respecting African man, you have to pretty much figure it out. So to me, it's like one of the things that inform a lot of the things that happen in my life, especially like spirituality and even the craft itself. So it was basically like, okay, where do I come from? Right?
Mm-hmm.
That's the basic question. So I might as well be from the jungle, right? But then I couldn't call myself Jungle Baby, right? Because that would sound kind of weird. So,
Yeah.
Bush Baby sounds cool. But the baby part though, because it's like bush, it's like coming from the bush. I'm really trying to figure out my roots and where I really come from. But the bush part is really because of one of my ideals, the ideals that I like to share with everybody. I always walk around with this particular thing. I hope you can read it well, right? It says here, protect your child mind. Wu-Tang is for the babies. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, it's basically like I see all of the things that are wrong with the world right now, man, is really because people have lost touch with their child mind. Like, the heart of
Mm-hmm.
hearts is still a child. Because even Jesus had to say, let the children come to me. If you're not like these children, you're not going to inherit the kingdom of heaven. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
it's pretty much like if you want to avoid things such as wars and like all of the travesty that happens in the world, you pretty much need to safeguard your child mind. So that's like my main word. So that's where the baby comes
Baby
from.
comes from.
And then X-rated is pretty much telling you like, hey man, it will always come with like some, vulgarity with it too, because it's part of life. And I like to shine light on it because a lot of people have this whole morality thing going on, and we try to ignore that life can also be obscene, like life can also be kind of vulgar. So I like to shed light on it too, on some,
Yeah.
yeah, shadow, sort of like a holy fool archetype type thing going on.
I
But
see.
there you have it, Bush Baby X-rated.
I see. That's yeah. That's quite. I think I now have a better understanding
Better,
of
yeah, yeah,
where you got the names.
yeah.
And please explain to me when someone says that inspired by someone or I'm inspired by a certain occasion. What does inspiration to you mean?
Inspiration. So from the way I look at it is it's such a multifaceted type of concept that a lot of people usually like to box it in as if to say it's like a mechanical process where you see something or you hear something and it strikes a chord and then all of a sudden you're inspired, right?
Mm,
But inspiration comes in so many different ways, man. Like for example, I could be inspired by Oliver Mtukudzi and Thomas Mapfumo, right?
yeah,
From a music point
perspective.
perspective.
Yeah.
But also maybe one of my chief inspirations comes from the experiences that I went through at a particular point in my life, right? But then they are subconscious inspirations. They are not like the kind of inspirations that come to mind when you talk about, yo, I'm inspired by this and that,
Mm,
right? So inspiration, I just feel like it's if you're going to kind of like define it, I think it's a synthesis of all of the experiences and all of the, you know, the things that you see, that you hear, and also things that are multi-sensory too, because it's not limited to the senses. It's also like, outside of the senses. So inspiration is that thing that, like, if you synthesize all of those things and the outward expression of that synthesis, I think is what inspiration is all about, for sure.
Thank you. Thank you for elaborating on that. You also hold a degree in economics,
Sure. For real.
and you're also a creative.
Yeah.
And I understand you also have another degree, master's degree
In entrepreneurship.
yes.
Sure.
For you, what's more? What brings the bag? What brings more? What's lucrative for you?
Okay, so to be perfectly honest, the economics part of it is totally like wasn't informed with the artistic side of it, to be totally honest. You know how the process, because this is also like one of the conversations we should open, you know, with institutions of higher learning, and also like with parents and stuff like that, because what people need to do is sort of to align what they like to do and what they pursue in their, you know, education lives, whatever. Because I just ended up doing economics, bro, to be totally honest. I was in school and I got my A-level results, and seemed like I was supposed to go towards like the commercial route.
Yeah.
So I ended up just doing economics, man. But then, you know, like, nothing is ever coincidental, because now looking back at it, I don't think I would have chosen any other degree now, because now these things kind of merge eventually, because now you have to learn about how are you going to monetize your craft and all that kind of stuff. So now I meet a lot of the language that I learned in economics when now I'm talking about this whole commercialization of the craft type thing. So it's it's kind of a blessing in disguise to me. And then I did the masters in entrepreneurship in China. That's a whole story in its own, because now I was focusing just on entrepreneurship, and then, you know, me as a creative, it then becomes creative entrepreneurship, and that's gold, for sure.
And okay, also on monetizing your crafts, which is a big conversation, like you're saying, that we need to constantly have such topics ongoing on how can a person monetize his product. How are you going about it?
Man, so much for being in Zimbabwe, bro, to be perfectly honest, because if you're going to study it from a student point of view, right, theoretically, they're supposed to be industries, right? Or sort of like there should have been like a pre-establishment of certain structures, so that you is pretty much you walking through these structures and rising through the levels and stuff like that, right? But then now we find ourselves in a peculiar situation where these standards are not even defined. You know what I mean? So it now depends on what type of a person you are. Are you like a glass half empty type person, or are you a glass half full type person? Because there's so many challenges. Like, if you look at it from a point of view, like, where there are challenges, but then if you look at it from another point of view, it's also like opportunities to create, you know, new industry and things that have never been done before. Because if you compare with other places like South Africa, like Nigeria, right? They already have these systems with like record labels and all that kind of stuff. Like the delivery system from how the craft is made to when it goes to the final consumer, right? But then here, it's pretty much you have to create that path yourself, pretty much like improvisation, which I can definitely say we are in the process of doing so. I cannot tell you that I figured it out yet. I think it's it remains like a lifelong process because the vision is so big. I do not think that it can be achieved in a single lifetime. But yeah, I mean, thanks to scripts and bars, though,
Yeah.
because
I was
now,
about to ask.
yeah. The example I was giving to someone who was asking me is like, yo, you've been talking about this scripts and bars thing. Like, what is it all about? And I was giving him the analogy where I was saying, it's just like the Wolf of Wall Street, right?
Yeah.
Like you just can't walk through Wall Street and become the Wolf of Wall Street just like that. Even if you're a natural, right? But you need to go there. You need to have a network. You need to have the know-how, right? You need to have mentorship and all that kind of stuff. So scripts and bars has like actually done that where, you might be a natural, you might be gifted in doing what you're doing, but then now we have to to smoothen out the rough edges, right? So special shout out to scripts and bars, man. Special shout out to K Media.
So from reading the prospectus of the course, I was expecting for us to get here and then the talent managers on one side, the literature guys on one side, and then we do our thing and then mix somewhere somehow. But surprisingly, we are all sitting on one place and talking one language and understanding each other at the same time. So, wow.
I didn't know we were going to be doing this stuff because I was like totally open-minded. So I didn't know we were going to be studying about how to make your craft a business, how to handle money, how to handle people. And it's really opened my eyes in how I can use my craft to make money instead of just being just an artist or just an animator. And so I learned how I can use my words and like even my brand to let people know what I do before I'm in the room.
Someone named Eugene was talking about imposter syndrome and how us artists and creatives sometimes don't believe in our craft and in our art. And that was one thing that I was definitely facing when coming here. And he kept saying this one phrase, which is believe in yourself. And that's the main thing I've taken from this program, is the belief and the confidence that I have in my art and just in myself as an individual.
I did expect what I was getting, and I knew this was what was going to happen. So even a few things that were added on that I also didn't see coming, but generally, yeah, this was a very, very nice program.
You're part of the Scripts and Bars program. What sort of opportunities has the program helped you to identify?
You mean financial opportunities or just in general? Like
Just in general. Also, I think financial opportunities.
Okay.
Yeah.
So first and foremost, all of the people that I'm in the program with, like my fellow alumni, so to speak, are people that I've known, like, in the industry for a while now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, in terms of the artists themselves, the talent managers. The only people that I wasn't quite, familiar with were most of the visual artists and the animators and stuff like that. I was not quite connected to that industry before Scripts and Bars.
Okay.
But just recently, I did a performance at the comic convention, and it totally opened up a whole new world. Even now, I'm working with certain people that I met through that kind of channel, and we're now making stuff that I never quite imagined that I'll be able to be making when I started the whole thing. You know what I mean? That's how important some of these things can be. And now I'm peers with people that would basically be super difficult to approach from like a personal point of view. But now that, we're doing Scripts and Bars together, I can always
approach
talk to whoever, because now we are kind of like classmates, if you may, or like contemporaries, right? But then also, I'm on earGROUND, right? You know what I mean? So courtesy of Scripts and Bars. So those are the kind of opportunities, man, that they've been opening up, and they've been mad important, because I've seen even the reaction ever since we started doing the mentorship programs and implementing some of the things that we learned from there. My social media, numbers have also improved. My listening numbers, my streaming numbers have improved. And now I have an insight of, even if I want to drop new work, I'm not going to be doing it the way I was doing it before. Now I have to be more professional. Now I have to build a team and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, scripts and bars.
So we can say that there is power in networking and also attending these workshops, because we do have these workshops either physical or online, but I see sometimes that artists or creatives, they don't, or choose not to attend. I don't know if it's a matter of not having the resources to attend these workshops, or it's just a decision that we make as creatives not to attend.
Yeah, I mean, it's a mix of both. It depends on the kind of person that you are. I mean, personally, I'm a seeker. I like to consider myself a seeker of truth, like a seeker of knowledge, basically. If I'm doing something, I just need to soak in as much information about it as possible. So I would want to be involved in every single, workshop and like convention and all that kind of stuff. But then, yeah, I mean, as you say, I'm naturally from Gweru, but I had to travel and I had to come to Harare and try to stay in Harare because most of these events and workshop and all that kind of stuff, they happen in Harare. So for me to travel back and forth every time from Gweru is kind of pricey. So there's also that resource issue too. Like, I know a lot of people from where I come from the neighborhood, would want to be here, but they can't because they just cannot afford it.
Yeah. So is it bad, or is it a negative factor that everything is centralized in Harare?
Definitely. I think it's negative, bro. Like, it's working against people as much as it is working for people,
Okay.
Because from an artistic point of view, like, our sounds and our designs are supposed to be influenced by where we come from, right? You need to hear my essence from, like, because my art is being informed by the place that I come from, like the lingo, the culture, everything has to be tapped in because that's what makes the taste of the music, right? But then you see, I come to Harare and I'm working with local producers and they pretty much do not understand where I'm coming from. So I have to tailor myself, or they have to tailor themselves, of which, whenever that kind of transition happens, something gets lost along the way. So just from the quality point of view, like from the perspective of quality, I think it's suffering a lot because we need to hear people live and direct from wherever it is that they're at. And also, I mean, economically it's difficult for people to always travel to Harare. Imagine a kid from Victoria Falls, bro, right?
Yeah.
It's difficult. I don't think the centralization thing works.
Yeah, true. And I think we need, as the government actually, needs to assist our industry in terms of decentralizing from everything. Because even if you want to buy groceries or something, you have to travel to Harare. You want to work with producers, like everybody's flocking into Harare.
I think that is a matter of people failing to see the economic potential of it. I think it's not really because there's no resources. I think the will to decentralize comes from a realization of just how much we can gain. And I think at this particular moment, not many people have actually like seen the untapped potential of having all of these things happen everywhere in the country,
Yeah, that's very true. And how do you balance your creative block?
You mean writer's block?
Yes.
People deal with that in a lot of ways, bro. Like, I've interacted with artists. Artists do weird things, man. Like, for real, like to get rid of like writer's block, as it's called. But well, when it comes to me, like from a personal point of view, my artistry is informed by my spirituality. So when I'm having a writer's block, I interpret it as kind of a disconnection from the source of things. So when I'm trying to work around a writer's block, I usually go and do spiritual practice.
Okay.
and more meditation and more studying of the mysteries and all that kind of stuff, because
Yeah.
that's where my source material comes from. So as long as I'm connected, there's no writer's block. Yeah, so that's how I work around it.
That's quite, yeah. I believe people deal with the writer's block in very unique and
Yeah, sometimes strange
different
ways, bro. Yeah.
True.
I know a guy who studies the dictionary. Like when he's having a writer's block, he goes and like starts reading the dictionary, like a novel type thing. He just goes through the vocabulary like that. I don't know how. Yeah.
And also, how has scripts and bars helped you to refine your process to facilitate collaboration? Because there is power in collaborating.
Yeah.
Because like you were saying that now you can talk to some animator who was part of the program and say, let's work on this. You can talk to a graphic designer, you can talk to a videographer. And how has scripts and bars helped you to facilitate these collaborations? Because you need to be able to communicate. There's a certain language you use. It's not just a matter of your tea, you know.
Right.
There's a way.
So there's been a change of perspective, naturally. When I was approaching these kinds of issues like collaboration before scripts and bars, in as much as I didn't want to admit it, but it was more from a like selfish point of view. Like I used to see it on some, what kind of utility can I gain from collaborating with such and such, which is how a lot of people approach these things, right? But scripts and bars is like managed to like, you know, help me see that collaboration is value based, and this value creation is supposed to be mutual. You know, it's supposed to be reciprocal. Like if we work together, you are supposed to gain just as much as I gain. And like the value that we create, it's like, it's not a 1 and 1 adds to 2 type thing. It's supposed to be like 1 and 1 adds to 3, right? Because when you merge 2 things, it's not just like the synthesis of something. You get like, what do you call it? More than the sum of things. If you want to look at it that way. So collaboration has to be that way. In as much as it benefits me, it should benefit you. But like when we put those benefits together, there's actually like a cumulative effect of, you know, value created. So that's how people are supposed to approach collaborations. Because I thought I was going to have the chance to, you know, say it in my introductions, but apart from being an artist, I'm also a community development practitioner, right? So by community development practitioner, I mean like development, but not from a national standpoint or a provincial standpoint, but from our local communities, like our own neighborhoods, because it's like cells in our bodies, right? The microcosms build up into the macrocosms. So
that's quite insightful. Are you planning on releasing any work soon?
I'm just going through some logistical issues.
Okay.
There's a song that I just did with a very talented producer called Abija, the magician, and also DJ Tamoga played a part in it. We're supposed to put it out.
So it's a hit
pretty soon. Yeah, you know, right? That's why I had to mention it that way. But we're just going through some logistical issues. We're supposed to come out for Christmas. But then, anyways, it's still gonna come out. You know what I mean? The video is coming out pretty soon. Just watch the space. You know, keep watching that Bush Baby X-rated timeline on Instagram. I might just drop it every time. Yeah, for sure.
So you can just be like Chris Brown and say, "Oh no, the album is coming tonight."
Yeah, because the thing is, in as much as marketing is important sometimes, but also when you've created a buzz and like the market is like super, you know, curious to hear what you have to put out. Sometimes you have to hit them by surprise. Like the surprise factor is also a form of marketing.
True.
So just keep watching.
And it has been great talking to you. Very insightful conversation.
Yeah.
But before you go, you're supposed to drop some X-rated. Now you're supposed to drop some lines. Drop some
Or a little
verse.
bit of a freestyle.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so I'll give you, because I also write poetry, man. So I'll give you like a piece of poetry
Okay.
that I just wrote recently. Goes like, kudomoka kwachauruka akazopisa bridge asati ayaruka. You see, zvinhu zvacho zvoda kuchangamuka. Satambire kunonyudza usati wayaruka. No, play the game, don't let the game play you. Find us kuma avenues, takatea revenue. Master of the dark arts, ain't nothing I can do. More buzz than Chikurubi, I mash up the venue. Yeah. Came through ndine jara ye3 zvigunduru. Tambisiwe misi kuredza mapururu ndotodawo hove huru. Never comes easy upenyu mutsutsuru ane mari ndo mukuru. Whether uri mukaranga kana kuti muzezuru. Uswa ndo unosafa panotunga namabhuru. To make it through the day unotodeserve menduru. Survival of the fittest rumeri inokomba churu. You know what I'm saying? Push baby X-rated aka machemedze mtunhu nemango in the place to be.